will call the order the October 8th Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners meeting. First item, if those that are able, please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 on our agenda is the agenda review. Mr. Meyer, please.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carried. The printed agenda is approved. Item number 3 is drainage. And as our drainage folks are coming up, you'll see, and for those that maybe aren't in agriculture or deal with drainage every day, we've got four actions today to appoint viewers. ROB we talk about a lot, redetermination of benefits or redetermination of benefits and damages, is really kind of that snapshot in time that we do, getting the base right to make sure the right people are paying for it. It's kind of that adjusting for inflation. We've got 4 of those we're going to look at, and just for a little historical perspective, we want to get that base right. The last time these 4 were done was 1917, 1928, 1962, and 1976. So it's important that we get that done. We have to appoint viewers that are accredited, fair and impartial to do that work, and that's what our first 4 actions will be. So whoever would like to start us first?
Okay, that'll be me.
Okay.
First one is redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 53. The Blue Earth County Ditch 53 watershed is approximately 1,050 acres in size and located in Vernon Center Township. The current benefits listing is out of date, and a redetermination of benefits is necessary to make any future repairs or improvements to the system. At today's meeting of the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, we are requesting an order to appoint viewers to complete a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 53.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Discussion. We're ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Viewers are appointed. Findings in order is for redetermination and benefits is approved. Next, please.
The next one is for redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 74. The Blue Earth County Ditch 74 watershed is approximately 1,700 acres in size and located in Lyra Township. A landowner meeting was held on September 24th, 2024 to discuss potential repairs or improvements. It was agreed that the current benefit listing was out of date and a redetermination of benefits is necessary before moving forward with repairs or improvements. At today's meeting of the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, we are requesting an order to appoint viewers to complete a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 74.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. County Ditch 74 viewers are appointed. Next, please.
I'll take the third item, sounding very similar to the first 2. Redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 88. Blue Earth County Ditch 88 watershed is approximately 5,700 acres in size and located primarily in McPherson Township. The current benefits listing is out of date, and a redetermination of benefits is necessary to make any future repairs or improvements to the system. At today's meeting of the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, we are requesting an order to appoint viewers to complete a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 88.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation.
I'll move it.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. CD 88 viewers are appointed. Next, please.
All right, the last ROB is County Ditch 93. Blue Earth County Ditch 93 watershed is approximately 3,300 acres in size and located in Decoria Township. Current benefits listing is out of date, and the redetermination of benefits is necessary to make any future repairs or improvements to the system. Today's meeting of the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority. We are requesting an order to appoint viewers to complete a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 93.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Ditch 93, viewers are appointed. And we have tab 5, JD 15.
Yep, JD 15, just a quick note on the agenda. It asks for a repair report. It is not a repair report this morning, just a bid approval. Judicial Ditch 15, public bids were solicited from multiple contractors for the approved repair work for Judicial Ditch 15. These repairs include the installation and replacement of subsurface tile using dual wall HDPE tile. On September 18th, 2024, 4 public bid submissions were received for the Judicial Ditch 15 repair work. The engineer's estimate for these repairs is $397,433.63. The 4 submitted bids are provided in the table, with the lowest bid submitted from Larson Contracting with a lump sum bid of $336,089.82, and the highest bid submitted by Holtmeyer Construction with a lump sum bid of $465,423.40. ISG has worked with Larson Contracting on 2 previous projects, both of which were completed successfully with no issues. Larson Contracting has provided proper references, and ISG recommends awarding the repair contract for Judicial Ditch 15 to Larson Contracting. Today, we're asking the Judicial Ditch 15 Drainage Authority to award the repair contract for the approved repairs for Judicial Ditch 15 to Larson Contracting in the amount of $336,089.82.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? We're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. The bid award is approved to Larson Contracting for JD 15. Anything else, gentlemen?
That'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will go to agenda item number 4, tab 6, Public Works. Ask the county engineer, Brian Tilges, to join us for his report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, a couple of action items today on our agenda. The first is consideration of MnDOT contract number 1057644. This is a detour agreement for Minnesota State Trunk Highway 60, which will utilize our county stated Highway 13 as work takes place for reconstruction within the city of Lake Crystal. This is anticipated to begin next year. Then the work detail is laid out in the agreement. Total anticipated reimbursement to the county for the road life consumed is $113,573.68. I would recommend approval of the detour agreement attached in the board packet, as well as the resolution that was included in the board packet.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. We ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. It is approved.
Thank you. Second action item is consideration of MnDOT agreement number 1056569 for state aid project 007629 007. This is our county stated Highway 29 bridge replacement. So as you may recall, we were previously awarded $750,000 of the federal infrastructure bill that was awarded competitively. So we were successful in that application. This is now to utilize state aid funds to cover 50% of the remaining participating bridge costs. So with that being said, we were going to be receiving $450,000 of state aid bridge dollars. I'm sorry, I put the wrong project number down. That was carried over from previous. What was included in your packet is 007-610-29-029. This is for replacement of the 29 bridge, we did receive federal dollars, and we also are going to be getting some state aid dollars to help with that project, but I got the two crossed up. This is for County State Aid Highway 10 over Perch Creek. This is for the project that we're designing for reconstruction this upcoming year. The bridge that was previously would constantly overtop, and as you may recall, this is attached to about 6 miles of rural reconstruction on the West County line. And with that being said, this will cover 50% of the bridge replacement cost for the County State Aid Highway eligible. So on the back of the page, the local bridge replacement program funds cover $450,627.50. And the CASA funds. All right, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna apologize because I've got two different documents in here. So
In our packet?
no,
No.
Is the packet up? Is the project number 629007?
Yes.
Okay. So good news. I got confused myself. I included in here the good news that we got $450,000 for the CASA 10 bridge, which I just told you about. What's in your packet? I apologize for the confusion. What's in your packet is the MnDOT agreement for the CASA 29 bridge for agreement number 1056569. That does include the bridge where we received $750,000 of federal dollars. And then this will also provide state aid dollars, which will help participate in that to an additional $368,324.51. The total project anticipated cost for the 29 bridge is $1,299,193.20. I apologize for the confusion. I had the two documents sitting there back to back, and I was just meaning to share the CASA 10 as more good news, so. I
So
apologize
CASA
for
10
that.
is no action.
Correct,
Just
CASA
information.
29.
All right.
So I would request approval of the
29.
MnDOT agreement for the CASA
Okay.
29 bridge, as well as the attached resolution in the packet. Again, I apologize for
All
that
right.
confusion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Good news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of them.
I was excited about bridge money, so I
Yeah.
apologize.
Doing the bridge the same time as doing a project is always good.
Yeah.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried, it is approved.
All right, thank you. So, and I will bring more information next month. We're still assimilating data, but from the 2023 local bridge replacement program allocation that was made by the legislature, we've had a tremendous windfall of bridges. We'll provide a summary of all of those at the next board meeting, but we're talking millions of dollars that we've been able to bring into Blue Earth County to replace rural bridges, which is fantastic. So yes, for the CASA 10 bridge that I snuck into the middle there, that's one we've been worried about making sure that we could get on the tail end of what was left of those bridge bond dollars. So getting that authorized to the project was fantastic because that was a big missing gap of funding that we were counting on receiving. With that, I'll move into informational item updates. CASA 13 from 169 to 1. Paving and shouldering has been completed. Turf establishment is underway. The remaining work includes bridge deck, planing, guardrails, signs, and striping. So we anticipate that the road should be open to all traffic in about 2 weeks. CASA 11 from the West County line to 6. The road is complete and was open to traffic on September 24th. Some minor punch list and final cleanup items remain. CASA 82 from south of Hoffman Road to Fair Street was reopened on September 11th. We are evaluating rain impacts to the project schedule, and we'll be working with the contractor to negotiate liquidated damages. We will have assessed some. They'll be requesting a release of some based on what they anticipate to be their rain impacts, and we'll have to work through that and make a determination that we think is fair. The 2024 bituminous overlays, right now the crews are shouldering County State Aid Highway 28 north of St. Clair, and then CASA 3, 86, and 86, as well as County Roads 183 and 120 are still to be completed, with work resuming this week. We're replacing, Monday we closed CASA 2 west of 12. We have a pair of box culverts that'll be replaced on 2, one west of 12, one east of 12. So after we get the one on the west side of 12 replaced and reopened, we'll jump over and close the east side of CASA 12 on CASA 2. Probably a couple, 3-4 weeks to get both of those completed. The 29 bridge replacement, work by Minowa Construction, the one we just approved the grant agreement for, is scheduled to begin in March of 2025. We're also wrapping up a bridge on County Road 146. Crews are pouring the bridge railing today. Finished grading, paving, and turf establishment remain prior to reopening that bridge. We're replacing box culvert on County Road 157. That work is expected to begin next week and take approximately 2 weeks for completion. And then we're replacing 2 box culverts on County Road 174 and 177. Both of the culverts are installed. Backfill and road reshaping is underway, and both will be paved simultaneously, probably about 2 weeks before we're reopening those as well. We're working with Bolton Mink on design of County Stated Highway 5, which is 3rd Avenue, from Riverfront Drive to Summit Avenue. They're approaching 60% plan development, so that's moving along. 15 and 28 in St. Clair. Base drawings are being assembled. Bolton Mink is the city engineer there, so they're leading that project on behalf of the city and county. And we anticipate getting those drawings for review in the coming weeks. We're also working on CASA 10 from the West County line to 20, the one we just received bridge funding, and approved that bridge funding agreement as well, or that'll be coming. But we did just receive that. That was the one I snuck into the middle. Plans have been approved by state aid. Right-of-way acquisition is beginning, and Jack's meeting with folks. And again, we received that approval for 50% of the bridge replacement cost at $450,627.50. The County Stated Highway 40 slope repair work will resume on wrapping up those plans in the project memorandum, again utilizing some federal funds that we were awarded for that project. And then the other CASA 10 from east of Vernon Center to about 1 mile, east limits of Vernon Center to about a mile east, including bridge replacement. Widseth is working through the geometric and preliminary bridge design on that project as well. So that's another one that we're trying to get the design out in front, get funding, and we're going to be reliant on the legislature to provide bridge bond funds so that we can pay for half of that bridge cost. But we have to have bridge plans sitting on the shelf ready to go in order to get the money. So we've been very aggressive about having bridge plans sit on the shelf and having shovel-ready projects in the hopper. Maintenance crews have wrapped up replacing a 48-inch centerline culvert on County Road 158. They're also working on FEMA disaster repairs. We'll begin working on the Red Jacket Valley Park Trail and Riverbank armoring soon. That was kind of a, we want to make sure we got all the roads returned to farm-to-market serviceability first, and then start dealing with the repairs within the parks. Supervisors have been meeting and coordinating with FEMA on repair activities and reimbursement. Crews are wrapping up bituminous patching this week. We anticipate beginning shouldering next week. Driveway installations and tile repairs are always very busy with that. Crews are working on that in the fall primarily, heading into the winter. And then Camco was the contractor we had with the striping contract. They completed their second round mobilization of striping. We did have some seal-coated roads that had minor defects where it hourglass, where the nozzles were partially plugged, so it would go in and out and the stripes would look like an hourglass. We do pay for that striping by the the paint by the gallon, so we have paid for what was applied. We decided just to accept it as it was because those roads will be restriped next year, because again, they were just seal-coated this year. So after we go through the winter, typically speaking, on those roads that were freshly seal-coated, they need to be restriped again in the spring. So we decided to leave it. It's pretty hard to go over the top and try to make it exactly right a second time around. It's going to look terrible. So if you do hear about that, that is what happened. The Duck Lake Park Garage construction is underway. And we also have a contractor at Buckmaster's Bridge, Lone Pine Fishing Access, performing concrete repairs. And this was per the recent Minnesota Department of Natural Resources agreement, where they'll be providing reimbursement for those repairs for public fishing access. The Monarch Butterfly Conservancy Agreement, we've been working on with WSB on development of that application. An updated map was included in the board's packet. This map would represent us just barely meeting the minimum requirement for acres. So that's one route we could go. I know previously we did discuss trying to go above and beyond so that we have some flexibility within our system if we need to take a road on or off. So as you can see, the purple roads are represented as roads that were potentially named but have been removed for consideration. I would likely propose that the final application we bring forward to the county board, pull a few of these back into consideration for the application, likely CSAH 27 north of Eagle Lake, and perhaps one or two others. So if the board has an opportunity to look at this, has any comments, these were based off feedback we received from the public during the open house meetings. Any questions or comments on that? Otherwise, I would hope to bring the Conservancy Agreement application next month for the board to consider.
So the purple ones you have in here now are proposed, or you're gonna add
Purple
some more?
were proposed, purple and yellow were proposed.
Purple and
Purple
yellow.
were taken off,
Oh, okay.
but again, I would likely look at adding a few of those back on, just so that we have some flexibility within the system. Right now, we're just at kind of the bare minimum acreage
With the
we
yellow.
would need.
With the yellow, you're at the bare minimum.
Correct.
Okay.
And the purple taken off, was that because of ditch mowing?
Some ditch mowing or yard comments that we received there, where I think we can adjust for those pretty easily. 27, for example, I know we just constructed it. We do have it all in fee title right of way, and could prohibit mowing of the ditches in that area if we chose to do so, because we, again, own the right of way. It's not easement.
And do we do the whole ditch? Or part of the ditch? What I guess what I'm getting at is if we don't do the whole ditch, does that give us some variability just wherever a building site is for the yards, where we don't mow the ditch or hay the ditch, but yet they can go ahead and mow the yard
Right,
all the way out
it's
to the
really kind of just how we calculate the acreage. So if we
Okay.
take out that couple 100 feet of the length of the total project, maybe you take 90 to 95% of the total acreage of the road, you could exempt those ditch areas where people want to mow for their private residences to keep weeds and things like that down. And that was the approach we were planning on taking.
So as an example, CSAH 50 at Minneopa State Park, I mean, is that because of ditch mowing, or is that because of landowners lawn mowing, I guess?
That
Lawn
was-
mowing versus haying.
Haying
Ditch.
more so on that
Haying,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
Are there some with lawn mowing where,
27, I would
We could-
imagine.
27 was more lawn mowing, I think the comments were. There's a few that do hay it. And again, I'd like to see us kind of have additional acreage to put us above and beyond so that we have flexibility within the program to, take a road off and not count it that year if we need to do some work on it.
but we're picking and choosing winners by doing that as far as which residents can hay the ditch and which can't.
It does create issues there, yes. And that's why we've taken so many of them off, because there were people that do regularly hay those ditches.
Other questions?
And once we adopt it, it's not to say that it's permanently that way. We can make changes within the system if we run into problems. We may need to consider, if 27 isn't the road and maybe 17 is instead, or 47, we can make those changes within our system.
Is there an audit procedure with this, or?
It's kind of a self-accounting, self-reliant process. I don't know that they would come and audit us on this.
So if we do need more, we could determine another length of road that say, hey, because of a project or whatever, we're gonna restrict you.
You could,
Procedures,
yeah.
we need
It'd be
those
nice to
acres.
kind of get more of them up front so that we can move them around and
Mhm.
take one out as need be for a project, because you're dealing with the establishment of the, different habitat plants and stuff like that.
It's more flexible.
Right.
That was my next question. So we actually go in and plant some certain stuff? or
You
just let
start
them
with
know,
just doing like test sections, and you go out and
let
count
them grow?
what's there to start with.
Okay.
And if there's not any at all, then you may need to go supplement and plant some.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think a lot of it just seems
What's
to come
there.
organically.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right, well, this map will be helpful.
Thank you. Last, I did have a update memorandum for the board regarding the State Aid Highway 9 bridge and the Rapidan Dam. I'll kind of try to go through that at more of a high level. I know it's quite a few pages. We've been spending a tremendous amount of time with the dam and the bridge, so I hope it shows in the report we provided, trying to provide very high level update of the things we've been working on and keeping the board in touch with those communications that have been
Thank
happening.
you for that, appreciate that.
Yes. On the 9 bridge, prior to opening bids, we had a significant amount of questions. It resulted in issuance of 3 addendum to resolve bidder questions. We were subsequently opened bids on September 18th, and it was awarded to Hosier Worldwide on September 24th, and the contract has been executed. We're now beginning the process of coordinating with Hosier and their engineers on their removal plan, so we're in very preliminary stages of that right now. On September 20th, we submitted a project memorandum for the project engineering to get that rolling. Following approval of that document, we should be able to begin procurement of engineering services for bridge design. We did on Monday, on Monday, we received the project memorandum approval and also received kind of MnDOT's edits and approvals of our request for proposals, qualification-based selection. So that was a pretty lengthy document that we put together. So that'll be solicited out to consultant firms. We are still just waiting on final authorization. I'm hoping to see that this week and get that request for proposals out to consultants so that we could begin design of the bridge replacement. Get that sent out this week, and if that works out, I would hope to bring that to the county board in November for consideration. With that being said, additionally, speaking with MnDOT State Aid to discuss questions for the professional procurement, the project memorandum of approval status. There's also disadvantaged business enterprise goal, so it's trying to target a certain percentage of minority-owned, female-owned, veteran-owned, those types of disadvantaged businesses. Small business engagement, that goal was set for the project at 10%. And again, we did complete that draft, and that was submitted and revised and approved by MnDOT for the request for proposals. With respect to the dam, on September 5th, we received a letter from the FERC.
Mr. Chair, just real quick, Ryan?
Yes.
Maybe I just missed it, but do you have a time frame of when they're gonna start to remove that bridge?
We have to have the pre-construction meeting
Okay.
yet, and when we have that, then we'll have a
Then
better
so you have to
schedule.
work out with the contractor.
Correct, yeah.
Do you have any idea, guesstimate?
I would anticipate here within this month, they would begin
Oh, by
working
fall,
on it,
so,
yeah.
so it'll be gone by spring, it's kind of.
Well, yeah, the completion deadline that we had in the contract was January, I
Okay.
believe, the 15th.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Removal completion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is
Thank you.
important since we're starting construction in March of the bridge, right?
No.
Not this bridge, a bridge, but not this
Because
one.
29 bridge,
29.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This bridge, it's gonna be a stretch to get it awarded by June 1st of 2026 is the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be a big.
That's another question I have, but I'm thinking 29. so-
Gotcha.
Well, and
This
that's
is,
the challenge we have when we replace a bridge on a regular road. There's 4 years of work done
Right.
before we remove the bridge.
correct,
This one, the bridge goes away, now we have to do all that work
correct.
inside of a window that we don't have.
And,
So-
and then on top of it all, a lot of our bridges, we aren't using federal aid funds, which tremendously complicates
Sure.
the waters and the project as a whole. And using federal aid funds for the project engineering is also, I'm learning, very challenging and time-consuming process as well, but that's what we're working through.
So remind me again, the bridge award deadline, you said, was June? That was a deadline?
To have the
or that was
funds
a-
to have the funds encumbered, which would mean having a contract awarded. We can request an extension of that, but we need to begin the process and get a consultant and show why we would need it. So we'd have to have some documentation versus just asking for it outright up front without real justification.
And that was June 2026.
Correct. Any more questions on the 9 bridge?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. All right, on to the dam. On September 5th, we received a letter from the FERC regarding a request to update additional information for the license surrender. The FERC considers our September 3rd letter with the dam removal resolution a supplement to the original surrender application. They're requiring updates to the surrender application by December 2nd, 2024, so staff can kind of address that. They want a detailed description of current conditions in the project. They want an updated decommissioning plan and schedule, an updated environmental report describing the existing environmental effects of dam removal, and documentation of consultation with federal and state resources. So we've been batting this around for, well, a month now, because we just had a call yesterday with the FERC, FEMA, and the Army Corps of Engineers regarding this. And I think we're learning, unfortunately, that what they're really asking for is that we do an EAW document and to prepare a draft EA document for them to meet their NEPA requirements. So I'll be requesting Bar Engineering to complete a scope of work and a proposal to do those documents. It's going to be significant lift. Their deadline in there is going to require an extension. I don't know how we meet it. So we did have conversations and with administration, and Bob had provided direction to move forward with having Bar do that, knowing that it may not be reimbursable by FEMA, because we do have to go through a quality-based procurement for FEMA for our consultant engineering for anything that could be reimbursable. But again, it's a critical path item to keep the progress moving forward, and we are going to have elements of project engineering that are going to be county-borne cost, I think, regardless in this. So we're trying to be cautious about which ones we do to utilize local resources for, but some are very important to keep the ball rolling forward and critical operations moving.
Well, I think these are important steps that we take to keep things moving. You know, we have appreciated our federal partners, but it is sometimes frustrating to have FERC say you have 2 or 3 months to provide a report when they've sat on our exemption request, our surrender request for 14 months. And so I did invite the FERC person who's sitting in Washington to come out and see the dam and try and help us move forward. But, you know, they still have oversight over the dam and are requiring a lot of steps that I think do impede our ability to move forward on removal at this point. They're not saying we won't be able to, but they are doing their regulatory piece to make sure all the boxes are checked. And, you know, the environmental stuff is important. We would need to do that even if the DNR had oversight over the dam, I'm sure. But it is just a lot of players that Ryan is doing the best he can do to kind of navigate those waters, so to speak.
Thank you. On September 5th, we held a weekly meeting with Bar, including discussion of bathymetric survey needs and how we would get that data collected. Aerial survey of the river basin is tentatively scheduled for October. Again, may be a county incurred cost. It's critical to keep the river channel design moving forward. Bar will hold development of a work plan to repair the dam to pre-flood conditions until after the upcoming FEMA meeting. That's something I think that's going to be included in qualification-based selection so that it is FEMA eligible for reimbursement. So we're going to hold on that. Bar's also assimilating the MnDOT laser scan of the West Bank erosion into a 3-dimensional model that we could use. That's been completed now. Discussed the FERC letter in response to that. They provided a draft memorandum for the West Bank stabilization, which I think I've shared that with the board, the final version of it. So again, this is all the way back to September 5th. Reviewed the architectural historian proposals and just kind of keeping things moving. On September 11th, We had our big meeting, our kickoff meeting with FEMA staff. There was a lot of FEMA staff there. That meeting lasted about 4 hours. We had representatives from the FERC and the Army Corps of Engineers and the county on the call. And we actually hosted them in our office. And there was a lot of questions that were vetted. We initially began with just discussing the FEMA damages, the eligible reimbursement for all of our roads and parks. We got through that in about an hour, and we spent about 3 hours on the dam. And I'd say we probably left with more questions than answers. I sent them about 3 pages of questions that I had noted during the call and that BAR had provided, which they're still working on responses to that, still back from our September 11th meeting, but I did send those out right away. I think things we already know, the project can be an alternative procedures project or an alternate project where we have to come up with the cost to fix it, and then that can get rolled over into a removal project. Talked about FERC licensing. The FERC and FEMA should be able to cooperatively complete the EAW and NEPA documents. Now we're learning we have to be the one to do the EAW as the proposer, but the NEPA document, basically we have to provide them with the guts of it, and then they'll clean it up. But they are at least making an effort, based on the call yesterday, to coordinate again between those 3 federal agencies. And one of the distinctions that we're learning too is that it's really shaping up that dam removal and river stabilization at the dam is going to be one project, and if additional river stabilization is going to be determined to be necessary, that's really shaping up to be a subsequent future project, likely led by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's talking with several agencies. You know, we already knew that FEMA wasn't going to really let us ball the two together. Now hearing from other agencies, you know, it really muddies the waters with respect to the environmental documents and how those are developed and the level of detail that can be provided with where we're at. We really can't provide that, and it makes it overly complicated. So our plan of attack is dam removal and energy dissipation and things of that nature at the dam for the removal. And then if river restoration is deemed necessary, I think we still question whether it's truly necessary, given how it certainly is shaping up to look like it's turning back to the old river banks pre-dam, with the loss of all of that sediment. So that's where.
So we're gonna have
engagement
river
lies.
restoration with or without government help. But the river's gonna do it.
Mother
like the
Nature's
river
gonna do it
on
one way or
where it
another.
wants.
Yes, correct.
Well, I think that does become kind of a future stage of these discussions in terms of, is there more river restoration that the Army Corps should be involved with after we figure out, you know, what to do right around the dam site? The Army Corps certainly is interested in river restoration if the dam is removed, but how far upstream and downstream becomes the question associated with that.
We did ask directly if there's a mechanism to pursue removal without spending considerable time and resources developing a repair plan to restore the facility to its pre-disaster. At the time, they said they would evaluate it with their leadership due to the unique situation. We had a subsequent call. We've had several subsequent calls, and I think we were told that it's highly unlikely that that's going to be possible. So frustrated to hear that. I understand why, but I don't agree with it.
Mr. Chair, so I'm hearing you say that it won't be out anytime soon.
Correct.
I'm not going to put a time frame on it. So what are our challenges, and maybe we're going to get into this later, but what are our challenges going to be this spring if we have some more flooding again?
Yeah,
Trying
so
to take care of that eroding bank.
yeah, and I do have that later on, but that's
Okay,
fine.
we'll just-
I'll answer your question now. With BAR's report on interim stabilization options, I'm working with FEMA on the side to request authorization, and we kind of keep getting told, you guys do what you have to do, and then we can see if it's eligible for reimbursement later. I don't like that at all.
That sounds expensive.
There's a lot of complications with respect to it regardless. One, the repairs are only going to be reimbursable or authorized if we're protecting improved property.
Okay.
And it should be county-owned property, so that's the other thing that we're working through. We have the condition where we had the strip of land where our road was. And we had the Haruska land and the home, and then we had the county-owned land at the riverbank. Technically speaking, under their program, the Haruska property should not be eligible for us to repair. But the argument comes in, well, how do we repair our road without repairing that, without repairing our other property? So that hasn't been answered yet by FEMA. The improved property designation also is a problem, because the county parkland can be considered improved property because it has roads and pavement and things like that. The adjacent farm field is not considered improved property, so therefore is not eligible for reimbursement for protection, even though it's all integral to each other. So we're gonna have to do some arguing and convincing. I do need to try to put a cover letter, so yesterday I asked for clarification on what needs to be in that cover letter. With the bar report, they would only cover the cheapest option, which would be the spur dikes, which are kind of the rock fingers that stick out from the shore and attempt to dissipate energy so that it doesn't continue to undercut and scour. Would not do anything to address safety if anybody was up at the top of that slope.
So one of the terms that FEMA personnel frequently provide back to us is imminent threat. We're being told that we can address imminent threats on public improved properties, and that will be eligible in a certain category of FEMA funding. The question is, does our current situation and the need to address that erosion fit their definition of immediate threat? And so that's some of the questions that Ryan has posed to FEMA, and we're awaiting their response.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I'll try to kind of burn, because this was a long time ago. We have a lot of meetings since then, but we discussed the 2019 flood damages and how those would be handled. Again, didn't really get an answer. I asked for a timeline, didn't really get an answer on that. Federal procurement requirements, I think we've kind of talked about that. Interim stabilization, we talked about the draft bar memorandum and kind of where that's gone. The river upstream of the basin and downstream of the dam may be considered unimproved property and ineligible for FEMA reimbursement if, and again, whether or not we can mix federal funds. If the FEMA amount that is awarded to the county is inadequate for the total project, there's question of whether or not we could maybe go for a direct appropriation or other federal dollars to supplement. They may not be able to be used on the same scope of work. So we may only be able to supplement with state or local dollars. I'm working with Minnesota MMB to try to resolve that question as well.
Ryan, do you think that's an area though where the Army Corps could go to Congress for potential
river.
Future appropriations?
If we could split the project, and if we split the project into dam removal and river restoration is separated, I would anticipate, I'm spitballing. The project is probably cut in half of the last estimate that we gave you, because a lot of that was sediment management and river restoration, river armoring. We discussed environmental documents with all of the federal agencies, but I mean, this involves NEPA, SHPO, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Army Corps of Engineers, DNR, PCA, Section 106 compliance, and others. It's I think one of the biggest, environmental challenges for permitting and then just compliance overall that we've ever faced, for sure. It's very complicated. All of the damages to the park facilities should be covered, so the loss of the building, the playground equipment, et cetera, pavement, that and campsites. We will have to come up with some cost estimation for how to replace those, and that could be, again, just rolled into a bigger global project. So again, following the meeting, I shared 14 pages of meeting minutes with all the attendees, including handouts, and it included 3 pages of unresolved questions for FEMA to respond to. September 12th, I spoke with Minnesota MMB to discuss federal funding and how it would flow between FEMA and other potential federal funding sources. On September 13th, we met with BAR to discuss the FERC license surrender. September 13th, we held a kickoff meeting with Bolton and Mink for the architectural historian review of the dam. So that work is under an emphasis was placed on getting site work done before winter. September 17th to the 19th, Commissioner Stoonberg and I attended the Washington, D.C. Minnesota Transportation Alliance fly-in. I believe he's probably talked about that already. But while we were there, we were able to meet directly with Senator Klobuchar and Congressman Finstead, as well as a lead staffer from Senator Smith. We had productive conversations, and Josh and and Bob, I know, are going to be following up with their staffers locally to try to continue to move our agenda forward with their assistance with this issue. A lot of interest, obviously, in the dam, and very good meetings. September 20th, I spoke with the Corps regarding status of the dam and river. They agreed that it's going to be very challenging to do separate projects, but unfortunately, it's just the way things have unfurled. They are interested in coordinating the EAW document with the FEMA and the Corps and the FERC. On the 20th, county staff completed the channel survey of the river, finally using canoes. So they actually went up at the confluence of the Watonwan and actually just went down the river in canoes with the survey equipment, and we're able to get the channel bottom survey. So once we get the aerial survey flown, we'll be able to stitch all of that together and have a new model and have a more accurate determination of how much sediment was truly lost. And that'll go into the final design of the river channel with their HEC-RAS two-dimensional flow modeling that BAR is going to be doing. As they were going down, BAR engineering staff also joined the county staff in assessing and seeing the river channel, and they actually took some geo-reference photos. I didn't know you could do that. So that when they took a photo, it had a date and time stamp, but also a XYZ stamp. So they could actually assign them to the location on the river, which is pretty cool. As they were coming down, they noticed 100-plus-year-old tree stumps and bedrock outcroppings, which the tree stumps were trees that were cut down when the dam was built. So that they were still preserved underwater, under sediment, so they're materializing now. So we're certainly seeing a return to, the pre-dam river channel and riverbed.
Wow.
Yeah. On the 20th, we received another letter from the FERC in response to our August 16th letter supplementing the Part 1210, which is kind of the after failure reporting. They noted our documents efforts. We documented our efforts in working and communicating with several agencies, including the FERC. They're not looking for additional updates until the county provides a response to the Division of Hydropower and Compliance license surrender letter. So we're reporting to 2 divisions of FERC now. Fortunately, I think dam safety is just kind of stepping back and letting DHEC move forward now with the surrender. On the 23rd, we met with Diana Shannon from FERC, DHEC, and BAR Engineering regarding the license surrender. Talked about dam removal, made part of the coordination with the funding agencies. The FERC's goal is to keep the process simple and move forward, as simple as a federal agency can be, and move it forward. They do want to, get this going. We want to try to get some things done in parallel so they could do some noticing to all of these agencies while we prepare those initial documents. They are going to have to reissue notice to everybody, including federal agencies and tribes, because the scope of work has changed now from what we initially proposed to do. And it certainly seems like the Chicago office is going to stay involved throughout dam removal. So I think the thought of getting rid of the FERC license and being able to do this with one less federal agency involved is not going to happen. On the 24th, we met with an interagency team led by the FERC dam safety folks. This is a fairly large call as well. That was and this was the post-failure meeting. This was a 5-hour-long meeting, included a site visit and follow-up discussion about the failure timeline, and the county documentation was reviewed. We provided quite a few photos, a narrative of the sequence of events of the disaster and the things that happened. I think the important thing to point out, per the FERC dam safety engineer that was leading this, these investigations are standard procedure after a major dam safety incident. The purpose is not to point fingers or place blame, but rather to determine the underlying cause and figure out if there are any lessons that they can learn to improve either FERC's dam safety program or the dam safety industry at large. Examples of reports are available on their website. The timeline is yet to be determined. On the 26th, we held another weekly meeting with BAR. We need to meet with the DNR soon and really kind of hammer out the extent of river stabilization and restoration. That's a big question mark, and we need some certainty from the DNR. the DNR certainly been expressed willingness to work with us and try to resolve these issues as we can. Jim Herbert, who's with BAR, spoke at a national conference with Jot Splenda of the FERC DHAC. He's actually the chief of that division, and got some more clarity on, again, those documents they wanted submitted, now leading more towards the EAW, EA documents. They also stated that their initial sediment removal estimates included in the August 15th memorandum that was provided to the county board are too high after evaluating the river, and they should have a potential to significantly lower overall project costs, which we kind of already talked about. We still need more soil borings. It's likely to be included in that future scope of work to ensure federal funding eligibility. The current BAR work order has about $50,000 remaining from the original $150,000, and that's what we intend to use for, that was used for the most recent report and used for the design of the river channel to keep that moving forward. Almost there. On September 26th, I spoke with Todd Lohr from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, just answered some questions and provided supplemental information. He was part of that after incident investigation team. I think we're going to have a lot more questions from those folks and have to take time to make sure we provide them with quality responses. On the 27th, we met with representatives from FEMA to follow up on unresolved items from the 11th meeting. We did establish a bi-weekly meeting, so we had that. Had another one just yesterday, actually. We discussed the September 20th BAR tech memo. And again, as Bob talked about, the immediate threat has to be, immediate threat to improve property is the key term to remember with respect to what's going to be eligible. I think we've kind of already talked about that. We discussed procurement, where they provided me with a 125-page document that I got the pleasure of reading through, and it really didn't tell me more than I probably already knew after I looked through it all. Established bi-weekly meetings. We had that again yesterday, and that'll be again in 2 weeks. If any of the board members are ever interested in sitting in on that, I'd be more than happy to share the invitation with you. FEMA's been working on a response to the county and BAR questions. I saw just yesterday we talked about, instead of her sitting on them all until they have them all answered, they're going to start answering them in pieces. So I did just get some of those responses this morning. I'm looking forward to reading through those. Site inspection is scheduled for October 10th, so this Thursday. We'll have more FEMA staff coming out to look at the dam and the damages. And we stated that we're certainly going to want our consultant staff to stay involved in the cost estimation. FEMA had offered just to do it for us, and I thank you, but no thank you. We want to make sure that we've got involvement to ensure that we think we're getting fair compensation, or at least reimbursement for those costs. Last but not least, we're working on development of a professional engineering services request for qualification-based services. It's not a common thing that we do, so that's something that's on my to-do list if I can find time to work on it. So I do know I got to get that out, and hoping to have a draft of that this week for FEMA to review. So that took us up through October 1st, and obviously we've still been, I spent most of the day yesterday on the dam with several different meetings and just coordinating these issues. So there's a lot going on. I apologize, that was a lengthy report, but it's hard to boil it down to.
A lot of stuff.
I appreciate it.
Hard to boil it down to a two-pager. So,
Yeah.
Gotta get it out.
Appreciate all of that.
yes.
Thank you.
Questions at all?
You already answered mine, so thank you.
Thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you. All right, that concludes my report then.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Agenda item number 5, tab 7, starting on page 44, is the county attorney update. For your information, Megan, anything to add, or does anybody have any questions on that report, or for Megan?
Nope, I don't. It's pretty clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6, tab 8, is University of Minnesota Extension Agreement, addendum. Josh, please.
Morning, Josh.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Josh Milo, Deputy County Administrator. Before you today is the addendum for the MOA with the University of Minnesota Extension. This is an addendum that'll take us up through the end of this calendar year. With the Ag and Natural Resources educator resigning that post in early September, The decision was made is at this point in time to do the program coordinator for the master gardener for now until the end of the year. And so what this is for a 0.25 time, and if you look at it, it says a price of $20,162. That would be what a full year cost is of this position, is not what we're looking at between now and the end of the year, is right about $5,500 would be the cost for the start, for this last quarter. And so this would just to take us up through the end of the year. And then what we'll be doing is looking at is maybe even at the next board meeting, we should be able to come back with the new MOA starting for January 1, 2025 for that 3-year agreement. So this is just here for the balance of the year, and then we'll act on that new MOA here in the near future. So really what I'm asking for today is just approval of this addendum to get us through the balance of this year.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, discussion.
The only thing I would add, Mr. Chair, is a comment. I think this will work out really well until the end of the year and give us some time to figure out what we gotta get done, but hopefully we can get the master gardeners on board with it. So, thank you, Josh, for all your work.
All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's carried, the agreement is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 7, Mr. Meyer, please.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for September 24th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried, the September 24th minutes are approved.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried, the bills are approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 11 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. I have one action item for the board's consideration today, and that is authorization to initiate recruitment for a program coordinator in our supportive housing area. It's kind of a long story behind this. This would be a position that would take an existing employee and provide a promotional opportunity without a backfill, but it really traces back to a position within the Human Services Department that did management information systems work. We had an employee there that took a position within our IT department, and so that supervisory position has remained vacant. Through some reorganization within the department, another program supervisor is taking on some of that management information system responsibility, and that person currently oversees the supportive housing unit. And so to provide some capacity to that particular program supervisor to take on that management information system responsibility, the department felt they needed this program coordinator within supportive housing to take on some of the responsibilities that the supervisor previously has done. And so this would be structured in a way that it would provide a 1-grade adjustment to an existing employee without a backfill.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, is there discussion?
So will this be posted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It is a union position, so it still will.
Internal only?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried.
I should maybe also clarify that that management information system supervisor position then is eliminated with this overall shift. So there was some budgetary savings that will be reflected in the 2025 budget. Then under informational items, just a couple items to report to the board: a resignation of a property and land specialist in our property environmental services area. Then we did fill property and environmental resources specialist 1 position in PER. And then we also filled an assistant county attorney position in the county attorney's office. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have on those items.
Questions? Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, tab 12 then is a memo and information regarding the All Seasons Arena. There is a project update included in the packet that I won't run through extensively, but just to say, as the renovation of All Seasons Arena has continued, we have discovered a number of issues that have resulted in significant change orders. Under the operating agreement between All Seasons Arena and the City of Mankato as the operating entity, the city manager had been provided authority to enact change orders up to 5% of the total construction project. That was kind of a policy decision of the city council for the city manager's authority. Well, we've already hit that 5% level with the All Seasons Arena change orders. And so under the joint powers agreement, any other changes beyond that level need to come back to the partner organizations. And so that's why we're here today with 3 change orders for county board approval. The Joint Powers Board did approve preliminarily these change orders. I will tell you that even with these change orders, we still are within the contingency that was set up in the project budget. So I did ask about, well, if it's still budgeted and the respective bodies had agreed to that overall budget, why do we need to bring them back? But through an auditor's opinion, it was felt that this still was the proper way to handle this. So we're here today with 3 change orders, one for Metcon in a trade package of $59,694.79. Then Laketown Electric, trade package 26A for $3,648. And then another one for Dirt Merchant Incorporated, trade package 31A for $17,170.75. All total, those 3 total $80,513.54. We still do have contingency left, but we're only about halfway through the project, and so we'll continue to hope for better results as they dig into the second rink.
And that's all divided between the partners, right?
Well, the
Or is
original
that just our
budget,
cost?
this is all divided, correct?
Right, it's divided to the partners.
We're still working with that 11 million plus total budget that was originally set. The county share was a little over 800,000, I believe.
Okay.
Other questions?
I'll move approval. You want all 3 at the same time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'd be just
I'll move
fine.
all 3 change orders.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Discussion. We're ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. The change orders are approved.
Thank you. Tab 13 then is the financial status report for September 30th. We're 3/4 of the year way through our calendar year budgeting process. You'll see our total revenues sit at 83.6 million, while our expenditures are just a hair over 93 million at this point in time. Some things to note, I guess, would be that our state and federal funds are lagging a little bit behind our budget. The transportation sales tax is down about 12% from this point last year, but closing in a little bit closer to our annual budget percentage. So it has improved a little bit, but is still on a different trend line than it had been in prior years. We are making up for some of those revenue shortfalls in our investments on our account. So at $6.2 million of interest revenue, that's quite a bit ahead of what we had projected when this budget was created. On the expenditure side, contracts and fees are largely made up of our road projects. You'll see that we're at 72.5% for the year. So as we get kind of to the end of our road construction period, that budget has been elevated. Overall, personal services, our salary and benefits are just slightly above budget. And again, that's reflective of that market adjustment that we did after the budget was set at the end of 2023. So that's not a surprise there. In terms of the enterprise fund or the Ponderosa landfill, you'll see total revenue is at 3.9 million, total expenditures at 4.2. Again, with the large equipment purchases this year, we'll struggle to break even this year, but that is commonplace when we have large capital investments like that. On the second page then are our cash and investment balances. Towards the top of the page, you'll see our total available funds at 75.8 million. Target remains at 62.5, so we're a bit ahead of that. A little further down the page, you'll see our total county funds sit at 132 million. So we continue to remain in solid financial position at this time. Be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Questions?
Looks
I
good.
have no questions.
No
Mr.
questions,
Chair.
yep.
All right, thank you, Bob. Item number 8 on the agenda is Commissioners' reports on committees. Mr. Vice Chair, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. After our last meeting, we had a public officials leadership training that Eric Weller put on. I thought the speaker did a great job kind of just laying out what our expectations from a staff's perspective is for the elected officials. And I think we all run in our lanes really well. She told some stories about some elected officials that don't stay in their lane and try to do too much. But I think this board does a good job of just letting our staff do what they're supposed to do because we have a really good staff working for us. And I thought it was a very well spent time up there that evening at the South Central Technical College. Had my ECB meeting, Emergency Communication Board meeting. We are still having a lot of challenges with our fiscal agent language, and so we have not been applying for grants through the SECB because we are the fiscal agent for our region, and then we're on the hook, and apparently causes some issues for the auditing, and and at the end of the day, we really don't get a whole lot out of it. We spend a lot of staff time on it. Micah Myers came down. He's the SECB Finance Committee Chair, and they are trying to put something together that we can maybe be able to apply for these grants without having all the paperwork. But at the end of the day, I'm not real concerned. I'm not convinced that we're going to have the language that we would like to see. I think it's going to be one of those things that we might not be able to get it done. It'll probably still be very cumbersome. The grants aren't very large. The board was very adamant about trying to get these grants just pushed through as like a DNR grant or some of these other grants that we get from the State Department instead of coming through the SECB. So we've been really working on that, trying to get some language to work because we have not been applying for the grants. And again, Blue Earth County does all the paperwork, all the management Brenda does up there, so it's very cumbersome for them. It's a lot of work, and at the end of the day, the little bit of money that we end up getting for the grants probably ain't worth our staff time. But at the same time, we got to look out for the smaller counties because the Watwans, the Faribault counties, a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 grant is very important to them. So we're kind of ruling them out. So we would like to get some sort of language written and get that to work again. Had our EMS meeting, everything's going really well there. Mark has got a lot of programs going on. They are starting a program which apparently when these small fire departments and ambulance services do a call, it's very hard to collect from the insurance company or someone else to pay them for the call. So Mark is putting a grant together to try to hire someone to help all these small agencies. We're going to start with, I think, 4 agencies and help them try to collect the money. And so this will be a startup program. They're gonna try to get a grant from a couple different sources. If we can't get the grant, we're not gonna do the program. We're not gonna stick taxpayers' money to try to get the program going. But at the end of the day, if they can get the program going, these smaller departments will have a revenue source. Not a huge one, but a revenue source. So if they can get it so it's productive, that might be, will definitely be worth the while trying to get it done. So that is getting, he's got everything ready to go and asked for our approval to go seek a grant, and we gave him that approval at this point, so. And then had planning and zoning. We only had one item on the agenda. We'll see that next board meeting. SECB ledge meeting. Not a whole lot going on there. Working with several different open items for this legislative session coming up. And then we had a short meeting to appoint a viewer this morning on Joint Ditch 83. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Mark?
Okay, I was unable to make a couple of meetings, but I did make September 2nd department head meetings, and Vance and I did a GMG forum on the 2nd of September, and then yesterday with the, got to see the Rapidan Dam, the new dam store down, opening in the cafe there downtown, and that basically is it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Patty?
I too attended the emergency management training on the 25th, October 2nd, the department head. Yesterday, the dam store ribbon cutting event, and I had a TDS meeting yesterday also, and that ends my report.
Thank you. Vance?
After our last board meeting, I had a farm advisory meeting for the community farm. From the 25th to the 27th, I had a community corrections fall conference that I attended, and let me see here. On the 2nd, we had a department head meeting. I had a Transportation Alliance Legislative Committee, and again had the commissioner forum with Mark, put on by GMG. On the 3rd, I had a Highway 169 Corridor Coalition meeting, and let's see, on Sunday I had a community farm fall festival out at our community garden, which was well attended, and it was a lot of fun to see the people really enjoying themselves and getting the information about what we do at the community farm. Yesterday I attended the dam store grand opening, and I had an MRCI board meeting in the afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Since the September 24th board meeting and that afternoon, we had landowner meetings, 2 of them, one CD 74, CD 89 on September 30th. We had a CD 56 update call. I too attended the dam ribbon cutting yesterday, and this morning, as mentioned, was the JD 83 ditch meeting. That concludes my report. That concludes our agenda. Next item would be to adjourn. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.